making beats for about 6 years now, and mostly uploading to like SoundCloud, Spotify, Apple Music. Those are my three main platforms, I'd say. Yeah, and I've been living in Vermont for a while now, but grew up in New Jersey. Just came here for school, for college, and then didn't end up leaving for a while, so here I am.
Cool. So for somebody who is completely new to the genre of lo-fi hip-hop, how would you describe it? What would be the best way to describe it to someone who's never heard of it before?
So it's mostly instrumental stuff, just like easy listening beats, a lot of samples, like old records or jazz stuff, and it just kind of has like a dusty, like vintage sound, which will kind of remind you of some like old school hip hop or boom bap stuff from like the 90s. So yeah, it's pretty simplistic too. It's a lot of loops and stuff, but really good for like background music, if you're trying to like study, relax, paint or draw or do something like that, where you just want something like kind of chill in the background. I feel like that's what's mostly been used for nowadays.
Cool. So how did you go from just starting out producing and then like DJing occasionally to like where you are now as an A&R for a record label?
Sure. So yeah, when I started kind of making these kind of beats and stuff, there was only like a handful of artists really in the genre, but that kind of like paved the way. And so I just started by I was just fans of their music, like listening to them, like in my dorm and stuff. And eventually I was like, hey, like I have all this time, and now I have my own place for the first time, so I want to like try to pick up something new. And so I just started with GarageBand, the free like software that's pretty much on every Mac, and just started kind of trying to imitate what I was listening to and what I was liking. So then, fast forward a little bit, I guess, I realized that a lot of these producers were using this specific piece of hardware. It's the SP404. It's made by Roland, and it's almost looks like just a big like calculator, but it's good for sampling. It has a bunch of effects. You can pretty much do anything you want with it. You can do live shows, record pretty much like any sounds you hear onto this machine and then use them in your beat later. It has like a microphone and everything. So I decided like the next step would probably be investing in one of these. They're like $500. Because they're kind of vintage and stuff. I don't think they're made anymore really. At least the original ones. So I invested in one of those, and I feel like that kind of really helped me level up a little bit and get my sound more lo-fi and more genuine, because I had like a legit piece of hardware now. So I just kept learning that, met a bunch of producers like along the way in town who became my friends. So everyone I was like surrounding myself basically was making beats as well. So I was just always learning from them, which was really cool. And yeah, just kind of kept doing it and learning as I went. And the DJing just kind of came along with it, because I was listening to all this music and finding all this cool music, but it's all mostly on SoundCloud at that time, and like no one had heard any of it. So I was like, what's a way I can bring this to like my friends and just like other people, show them this cool music that I like. So yeah, I just invested in a really small like DJ mixer to start and just practiced in my room for a while, for like a couple of years. And then I got my first gig it was at Red Square actually, which is like pretty popular. on Church Street around here.
Yeah, I've heard of it. I've never been. I've always wanted to.
Yeah, and when I went there, I was like, wow, this is a really cool bar. Like, it was always pretty packed and stuff. They gave me a Wednesday night, so it was one of the, like, slowest nights they had. So there wasn't really anyone there, but it helped me, like, learn how to DJ, I guess, out. Because you can't just play as much random stuff that people don't know, even if you love it, because people are out and they want to hear stuff that they know at that point. So you gotta kind of play some mainstream stuff, which kind of sucks, but because it kind of pulled me away from what like inspired me to start, which was all that like underground stuff that no one knows. But at the end of the day, like I noticed like if I wanted to keep getting gigs, I had to just keep the bar and the people there happy. So when I DJ, it's a little different from the stuff I make. But there are those events that are like, hey, we want you to play your stuff, and like we totally want like the lo-fi hip hop vibe and stuff. So I do get to play my own stuff too. Yeah, so they kind of like go hand in hand, but at the same time, it's like two different things I gotta like focus on.
Cool. So thank you. But yeah, when you first started talking, like I had just like turned on my mixer, so I kind of missed a little bit of the not mixer, the recorder, and so I missed like a tiny bit of like your intro. So like how long have you been producing?
Yeah, so I've been producing for around 6 years now, and I was just saying how I started kind of right when I moved to Vermont, probably in like 2014. And I just kind of started by being a listener at first. I was just a fan of the beats and the stuff on SoundCloud, and eventually just wanted to try to do it myself. So just tried to get into it and just been learning as I go, basically.
Cool. So you said that you first DJ'd at Red Square, but who did you first produce for? Like the very first, like when you first started like producing for like rappers and stuff, like.
So definitely for the first couple years, it was just like the instrumental stuff. But then, I mean, I love rap and hip hop music with like rappers on the beat. So I always wanted to try to do that too. And like a beat is one thing, but when you add a rapper, you really just like change the whole track and make it a whole new like vibe and stuff.
Yeah.
The lyrics and just the flow and everything. So I think first it would have to probably have been I know I met Sasha, who makes beats by like Notation.
Yeah. And
he also raps under Sasha Travis, which is just his name. So he has SoundClouds for both. I met him and we became really good friends. And he's just like really good at like the freestyling and writing. He records all his own stuff, so he knows how to like set up the mic and record himself and then mix it and all that. So the more I like took with him, we started making stuff just for fun, and we ended up putting out a couple tracks. So I would say it would definitely have been Sasha.
That's cool. Okay. Let's see.
Yeah. The one thing I can say also about like rappers on my beats is when I notice when I upload them, even like my fans mostly are looking for that instrumental stuff now just because I've been doing it longer. So if I put up a beat with a rapper on it, sometimes it doesn't get as much like attention because they came to my page and like found my stuff based on the instrumental stuff. So that's just one thing I noticed. I always thought like, I don't know, should I make a second page or how can I separate like the rap stuff from the instrumental like lo-fi stuff? But I just kind of focus more on lo-fi because if that's what people want to hear, you know, I just want to keep making it. It's all really fun to me, so
yeah.
As long as I'm
Oh, here's a really good question. What inspires you in the world, in nature, aesthetically, to produce beats? style that you do and in the way that you do?
Ooh, that's a good one. So a lot of my growing up and stuff, before I really got into like making beats, me and my friends would always like chill in the woods back home. We'd like set up little chill spots or whatever where we'd always meet up and like hang out. So definitely like I love the forest, like in the woods vibe. And then I even put out one of my first beat tapes, was called like Them Trees, and it was just like a picture of like dope trees, nature, and plants and stuff like that. And my favorite color is like green, so just being like in the woods, like in the summer and stuff, everything's green, or it's like super like lush around you. I feel like that gives me like a lot of inspiration and stuff. And then even like now, like because we live in Vermont, so there's so much snow, but the trees, that when they're covered in snow and stuff, I think that always looks like beautiful. It gives me some good vibes.
Yeah. Cool. Let's see. And then this has more to do with just with being an A&R, like for Autumn Theory. Like, what are 5 things you look for when discovering artists to sign to Autumn Theory Records? And what are 5 things? Well, yeah, no. Start with the 5 things you look for when you're looking for people to sign.
Okay. So, I guess when I'm looking, the way this label works, so they're not exactly signing artists to the label as much as they're just like helping release tracks for artists through a label. So they're not like technically signed where they can't release anywhere else or anything, or like all their tracks will be through Autumn Theory. It's more just like we're giving them an opportunity to come out with the track through a label. So you have that label behind you. You have like their name, their followers, all their connections, and it just kind of makes it look a little more professional, I guess. If you're like, hey, my new track is out through this label. It just like shows people you have that support and stuff, and makes you look more legit, I feel like. So but what I look for, I guess, number one, they always said like they want it has to be like an established artist in a way, just meaning like they have like a presence, they've maybe been doing it for a while, they have already some listeners. Like it kind of sounds bad to be like, they have to have listeners, but they just want to work with people who are pretty much at the same level as they are, so we can kind of grow on this at the same scale. And that's kind of one thing they told me when I got on board, and I was like, well, I kind of came back at them and was like, well, hey, I know there's some artists that are super talented, but they're not there just yet on like with the followers or the stats, because they haven't been like on top of it, or maybe haven't been doing it as long. But I know like in the long run they're gonna get there, and they're gonna work towards like growing and stuff, and this will only help them. And if we help them like at the earlier stages of like their kind of like career, then it makes us look really good, because like we were there as like an original supporter, I guess. So that being said, I don't really focus on like stats that much, but I just make sure they have like a good, like their page looks appealing. They have like their links are all on there. Like they have pretty like consistent uploads and stuff like that. They just have to be like, I guess, established in that way. And then if they have a bunch of listeners on top of that, that's always going to help, because it's going to reach all those people as well. So that would definitely be number one. It's just like, just have to have like a good brand, and like I have to be able to easily find their stuff. I want to see that they're like on all platforms, stuff like that. So that's just kind of a general one. And then number two, I'd say, is what I usually do is listen to like 3 or 4 of their recent tracks, and then like a couple of their biggest tracks, just to get an idea of like who they are as a producer, like their vibes and stuff like that, I guess. So yeah, music's really important. I guess it's not tied with number one, which is just like kind of their brand. So those two are huge. And then, yeah, usually from there I just message them, and if they're not even gonna respond, you know, it's kind of just a dead end. So they have to be responsive, I guess, as well, and seem interested and be checking their messages. And yeah, that's like one thing like I really like about you is like you're really responsive. Like if I ever hit you up, you would get right back to me, and like I love when labels do that as well, because it makes like getting a project, like getting the ball rolling, it's really easy. So I think that goes a long way in like the music industry, or just any of these, like basically any industry. Like you have to get back to people, and like if you set something up, you know, you want to follow through. Like we set this up, and it just goes a long way that we actually like made it happen and stuff, I feel like, and just those little things just I feel like will set you apart. Because like if I hit up a label and I want to put out a track to them, they just don't answer at all, just kind of like gets you really down, and you're just like, they couldn't even like respond and say no. So
yeah,
I don't know, I think that's a huge thing, and I've been trying to work on that for a while. It's just like every message I get, I want to respond, make sure like it's a meaningful response, like, because that would really go a long way, just being like friendly and stuff like that.
of course.
So yeah, I guess that would kind of be all the things wrapped up together that I look for. And then like the next step is they get to send me whatever they have that they're working on. So I love that part of it, is like getting to hear these unreleased tracks is really cool. And like really interesting and stuff, especially as just like a music lover. So I get to hear some cool stuff that no one else has heard usually, and from there, like if I'm really digging it, I'll just lock it in usually from there. If I'm like kind of on the fence, there's the head of the actual label who started it. I can always like forward him the tracks and get his opinion and stuff as well. Yeah, so it's pretty cool. I really enjoy it. It's been awesome so far.
Let's see. I guess this is like the last question I have. Yeah, I definitely have more, but I just can't think of like. I want to make sure like they're written down and.
Yeah, for sure.
Like yeah, so like the very last question, and probably just like a really important one in general. What advice would you give to both this generation and the next generation about pursuing a career in the music industry?
So one thing I think I've seen like really pay off for people, which I didn't do, is people who get really nice at producing and take a lot of time to learn everything about, you know, making beats and mixing, mastering, like finalizing your beats. They just put in a lot more work first before ever like creating a page. And that way when they have their page finally, it's super like professional right away. Whereas like I kind of just would upload and delete stuff that I didn't like anymore as time went on, which is like really easy when I was just on SoundCloud. But now that tracks get like distributed to like every streaming platform, like if you're just starting out and you're putting out just like your first couple beats that are really bad but you don't care, like it's gonna be hard to get those off of the internet eventually. And like that's just kind of the generation we are now, is like everyone who wants to start is going to be like, all right, I see like I can get on all platforms, like I'm going to put everything on all platforms. But people who really like take time to learn, like establish themselves and then start uploading, I think they just get like a really like almost a one up on other artists, because they're coming out like a certain standard. I don't know, I feel like I'm trying to think of a good example. If you've heard of Kurt Stewart,
yeah,
he's from around here as well. I know he's like pretty new to the scene, but he had like a lot of experience with mixing, mastering. He took a lot of time, I think, just like kind of like listening like to artists and stuff before he kind of hopped in and made a page and stuff, and he's been like taking off crazy. Like he has 1 million monthly listeners just this month on Spotify. So I think it's been really paying off for him that he like took the time to do a lot of learning before just like getting ahead of yourself and kind of just hopping in.
Cool.
And yeah, like I said, that's like something I didn't do either. I just kind of like dove right in and just been learning as I go, which it seems to be working out for me. Just maybe it's like a slower approach to getting to where I want to go, because you got to kind of just keep doing that learning and as you're creating, instead of just like getting a lot of the like basics down and then creating. But at the end of the day, you're also still learning like every day that you do it, so you're always learning something new.
Cool. Well, yeah, it was a pleasure. I'm happy that we finally got to talk, even if it was just through the phone. But
For sure.
yes,
Me too.
and I'm looking forward to eventually gonna move to Burlington. So
Yeah, definitely hit me up. We'll have to kick it and make some content and stuff.
yeah,
Always good to get creative and chill. Yeah, well, thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
thanks for taking the time. Appreciate it.
Of course. Yeah, if you need anything else from me, feel free to just hit me up.
Alrighty.
Alright, well, you have a good rest of your day, and thanks again. Definitely talk to you soon.
Alright. Bye.
Alright, bye.